But did the mom feel bad after abandoning her family for a guy she just met? Why isn't there any bad blood between Elsa and Anna and the indigenous tribe, and her mom's part of the family when they go to the enchanted forest? It's because all of their relatives, all of their indigenous relatives, have been conveniently killed off or presumed dead. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and before I start this video, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed, commented, liked, and watched my videos. I've had my channel for, I guess, a little over a year now, and I think I'm finally starting to find my audience, so thank you so much to everyone who comes here every week to watch my content. And if you're new here, my name is Cheyenne and I make videos about feminism, race, and pop culture, so if you're into that, please think about subscribing and ring the bell. And if you want to know the topic of next week's video, please stick around to the end of this video and follow me on Twitter at _Cheyenne Lin. And if you want to be able to vote on future video topics as well as see videos in advance, please think about becoming a Patreon. So I haven't done a review style video on here for a really long time, so I decided to do one today about Frozen 2, which came out 9 months ago. And I decided to review Frozen 2 because I think it had a lot of potential, especially considering the success of the first one, but I feel like it kind of squandered it after watching the sequel. You can tell that the passion was there and the animation is gorgeous, but the story and plot really fell flat for me. To me, it felt more like a direct-to-DVD sequel plot and should have been called Frozen 1.5, considering that it didn't really continue the story of Frozen. But before I delve into my compliment sandwich / review, I am going to briefly recount and summarize the plot because honestly, it's so ridiculous that it's also kind of funny. So the movie starts out when Elsa and Anna are kids, and their dad is telling them a story of when he visited an enchanted forest with his dad, also known as their grandfather, also known as the former king of Arendelle. So he and his dad and some Arendellian soldiers go to the enchanted forest in order to commemorate a dam that they're giving the indigenous people as a peace offering. But the leader of the indigenous forest tells their grandfather, then king, that the dam is actually hurting the forest. But the grandfather dismisses him and says that they're going to talk about it later. And this is where it gets really messy. And just to preface, it wasn't very clear to me what the grandfather's evil plan was. But again, this is how I understood it after watching the film. So it's later revealed that the grandfather only had this commemoration and celebration in order to see the indigenous people's numbers and also to make them look ungrateful when they refused the dam as a gift after the Arendelle built it, I guess. And also to give the Arendellian soldiers an excuse to kill off this tribe. Behind closed doors, Anna and Elsa's grandfather kills the leader of the indigenous tribe, and this angers the spirits of the forest, the spirits being water, earth, fire, and air, and during all this commotion, Anna and Elsa's dad gets knocked unconscious. But then their mom, who is an indigenous person, calls on the spirits of the forest to heal their father, and they stow away on a wagon out of the forest before it's sealed forever. All of this, by the way, is revealed gradually throughout the movie, but I think it's just easier to get it out of the way now. So back in the present timeline, Elsa is hearing a voice in her head that no one else hears, and she keeps this a secret from everyone, including Anna, until she finishes singing Into the Unknown, which apparently wakes up all the spirits in the forest who come and wreak havoc on Arendelle. Everyone in the city is evacuated, and Elsa tells Anna about the voice, and they decide to head off to the enchanted forest. I'm leaving out everything with Olaf, Sven, and Kristoff because honestly it doesn't really matter. So they enter the enchanted forest, which angers the spirits, but the spirits also lead them to the indigenous people who have been trapped there since their dad was a kid. And they also meet the Arendellian soldiers who have also been trapped there with them. And for some unexplained reason, the indigenous people in the forest are able to age, so the one from Anna and Elsa's dad's time are all presumed dead, and we never meet any of them, but the soldiers from Arendelle just have some gray hairs, and they are able to age in the forest and have not died off. And for some reason, the two groups are still at war. They haven't made peace after decades of living with each other. Elsa and Anna continue to explore the forest, and we meet the elements, the fire lizard, the rock giant, and Gale, the invisible wind spirit. We also learn from the indigenous tribe that there is a fifth element slash spirit that's been missing, I guess. And the fourth spirit, by the way, which I didn't talk about, is the Nok, the horse, the water horse. And Elsa, for some reason, is not the element of water. And like I said before, we don't know where this fifth spirit slash element is. We don't even know what element it controls really, but people know that it exists, and Elsa feels the need to find it. And for some other reason, obviously, for the plot, Elsa does not think that the fifth spirit could be her. So while exploring the forest more, Anna and Elsa come across their parents' shipwreck, and they finally discover why they set out that fateful night. They were headed to Ahtohallan across the Dark Sea, and Ahtohallan is a glacier filled with all the memories of the world because water has memory. Unfortunately, as we know, they died before arriving there. Elsa sees this and immediately knows what she has to do and that she can't do it with Olaf or Anna. So she pushes them down a mountain and goes off towards the North Sea. So now we're getting to the best part of the movie, the part that was in all the trailers, and that is when Elsa crosses the Dark Sea and battles the Nok, aka the water spirit. It's so epic, the animation is incredible, the scene setups are so creative. It's just a really awesome part of the movie. So Elsa is able to tame the Nok and go to Ahtohallan, where she discovers the truth about her grandfather, her father, and also her mother, which we'll get to later. But unfortunately, she's punished, I guess, for finding out the truth about her family. But before she's punished, she's able to send a message to Anna containing the truth about their entire family. Anna gets the message and immediately knows what she has to do. She has to destroy the dam. But this isn't an easy decision for her because breaking the dam will mean that Arendelle will be flooded. Was Arendelle underwater before this? We don't know. Anna gets the rock giants to destroy the dam, which, by the way, if they already were unhappy with the dam, why didn't they try this like 2 decades ago? But anyway, they destroy the dam. Elsa becomes unfrozen, rides the Nok, and protects Arendelle from being flooded. And in the end, Anna is crowned the Queen of Arendelle, and Elsa is now the protector of the Enchanted Forest. So that is the plot of Frozen 2. And I'm sorry for nitpicking a lot of things, but I just can't help it, especially when they're like huge plot points such as the dam. But now as I go on into my review and the compliment sandwich, I'll try to stop nitpicking. So part 1 is the plot. First we're going to talk about the good stuff, and then we'll talk about the bad stuff, and then I'll try to mention more good stuff before we get into part 2. So the good stuff. Even though I found most of the plot kind of tedious and bad, I did like the idea of trying to find and discover the origin of Elsa's powers. I think that could have been a really good sequel movie by itself, just her discovering the elements separated from her family's history of genocide and the Northuldra Tribe. And I didn't mind at all that the other spirits, or I guess elements, weren't people. I think them going off on adventures could be a really cool sequel movie, and also an idea for a spin-off TV show. So now let's move on to the bad, and in my opinion, the worst part of the plot, which is the Northuldra Tribe. So I have a few questions. Where did this need to tie Frozen to indigenous people come from? Was there criticism about this that I wasn't privy to? And 3, who thought that this was a good idea? And before I start, I don't think that raising awareness about the Sami people is bad, and I think it's actually really important when it comes to Frozen, especially since the movies take so much from Sami culture, especially when it comes to the music. However, the Northuldra people are just designed so oddly, especially since they're supposed to be a Sami equivalent. Frozen 2 is mainly catering to a white American audience, so the character designs of the native people needed to look vaguely Native American in that they needed to look like what most white people and non-native POC think Native Americans look like, while also keeping in mind that the Northuldra Tribe is a white indigenous tribe. It's just a mess. I find their character designs to be so confusing. Anna and Elsa's mom is clearly a ginger, whereas the rest of the Northuldra tribe are homogeneously dark-haired and light-eyed. Also, random side note, I'm pretty sure their half-indigenous part of the plot wasn't in the original screenplay, considering the teaser images of Elsa and Anna's mom's character was originally darker skinned, but in the movie and final version, she's stark white. It's very obvious that they had trouble making the Northuldra people look othered because they have to read as both a white indigenous tribe and also vaguely Native American. The Northuldra people also don't wear Sami traditional clothing, and in the movie their clothing is just so bland and also really boring when they could have had a lot of fun with colors. It's clear that Disney wanted to have this indigenous people's story, but also make it as unoffensive as possible, and by doing that, they only made it even more bland and honestly, kind of more offensive. Also, the indigenous characters of the film are not voiced by Sami actors. And the worst part for me isn't even the Northuldra's racially ambiguous character designs, but the fact that Anna says that if the indigenous leader was also wielding a weapon against her grandfather, that her grandfather would have been in the right to try to kill him. It was just way too both sides for me to really get on board with. I also find it very wrong that the film didn't show the Northuldran people fighting back against the building of the dam before it went up. A big part of Native history is that white authors cover up the fact that yes, Native people did fight back and did not give up their land peacefully. The Northuldran people are also conveniently frozen in time until Elsa needs to find her backstory / save them, and it's just weird. So now for part of the plot that I liked. I like how they put in two forms of oppression that Arendelle, as well as Anna and Elsa, have benefited from. Their grandfather not only killed a native leader, but also built the dam, which Arendelle has prospered from until the day that Anna and Elsa tear it down. I like this because a lot of people won't own up to their family's history of owning slaves, but they can see how they've benefited from keeping indigenous people out of certain spaces. You know, it's good to have two forms of oppression in there. So another bad thing about the plot. Part of the plot is finding out where Elsa's powers come from, but we never find out the answer to that. They just say that her powers are magical and that she's the fifth element, but where do these powers come from? Is it because her mother loved her father, and because of this love, she now has magic? Is the ice spirit manifesting itself in human form in Elsa like Yue and the moon spirit in Avatar: The Last Airbender? Was her mom the fifth spirit? Did it go inside her after saving Elsa and Anna's dad? We don't know. I was personally fine in the first movie that Elsa was the only person that had powers and that's just how the world worked, but this second movie really wanted to delve into some intense lore, and for me it just really fell flat. I think that it could have been cool if they went the Avatar route, even though the rest of the elements aren't human. Elsa could be like the first Avatar after 100 years of turmoil or something, and that could be a great idea to turn into a TV show. Can you tell that I'm really looking forward to a Frozen TV show? Okay, so now on to part 2. As you can see, most of my problems were with the plot, but now I want to talk about the animation. So the good is that the movie is beautiful, it's stunning. As somebody who studied visual development a little bit myself, I know how painstaking it is to go through iteration after iteration of every single prop, every little detail. It is honestly painstaking work, and I applaud everyone who worked behind the scenes on this movie. I love Elsa's new dress, and her hair is animated beautifully. I also love the Nox character design, as well as the backgrounds in this movie, such as the Dark Sea and the Enchanted Forest. They look like they could be real. So now for the bad. And the bad is or are Elsa and Anna's character designs. They just look so out of place and so jarring. Their eyes are like huge, they have no nose bridge, and I know for kids it must be really cute, but for most people it's just very odd. When Kristoff had his solo song, he just looked so much more human. The girls, or the women in this movie, look like aliens compared to him. I know why they look like babies. I just wish that they were done a little bit more realistically, especially considering everything around them is hyper-realistic. It's not a very stylized universe, so Elsa and Anna just really end up sticking out in a bad way. So part 3, and this is a nitpick and a bad point, but it's also the last. So there's this part in the flashbacks where Anna and Elsa's mom goes to their dad and says that she needs to come clean about who she really is. Like, what? And this would only matter in 3 situations. The first one being if she was the 5th spirit before Elsa and never told him, if the 5th spirit or element manifested in her and she never told him, and 3, if he lost his memory when he went back to Arendelle and she ran away, and reinvented herself as an Arendelian citizen. But these are all ifs that are not answered in the film, but I guess we're supposed to infer that he lost his memory when they returned to Arendelle, and that she abandoned him after that and reinvented herself as an Arendelian citizen, and then went after him and found him again years later, and he still didn't remember who she was. But did the mom feel bad after abandoning her family for a guy she just met? Why isn't there any bad blood between Elsa and Anna and the indigenous tribe, and her mom's part of the family, when they go to the Enchanted Forest? It's because all of their relatives, all of their indigenous relatives, have been conveniently killed off or presumed dead. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm wondering if in Frozen 3, Elsa and Anna will meet their mom's, adoptive family. So that's it, we've reached the conclusion. There is so much backstory stuff in this movie to have 2 movies, but there's also so little status quo change that it could also be half a movie. I'm not a diehard Frozen fan, but I do think that the songs are good. I guess I did have another good thing to say about the movie. The songs are good. I also think that it's important to dissect really popular movies, especially movies for kids, and especially movies for kids with indigenous characters and themes. Indigenous history is already so whitewashed that it's really important that movies like this get it right. And this isn't even only for the children, but also for adults who usually don't go out of their way to learn about genocide. Alright, that's it. I give Frozen 2 a 5 out of 10, I don't know. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. So let me know what you thought of Frozen 1 and 2 down in the comments below, and please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed this video. Next week's video is going to be about Asian and Asian American characters voiced by white people, so that'll be fun. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.